So good morning, my friends, and welcome into the sanctuary on this Sunday as we continue on in our contemplation of what empowerment is and understanding it most particularly with regard to all that is vulnerable within ourselves, within our world, so that we can grow in wisdom and grace and strength and understanding of what it is to be alive in this world right here and right now. And we have been challenged very much so by every wise philosophy and every wise religion and every wise teaching to understand really and truly that what we are servants. You know, the Pope's title is the servant to the servants of God. And we are the givingness of life back unto itself according to our teaching. So what does that mean except we show up to give, we show up to bring, we show up to serve, we show up to make a difference, we show up to assist and support transformation and the advancement of life and living and the upliftment of human intelligence into the recognition that within that human intelligence is the possibility for infinite intelligence to express itself in and through and by means of each one of us. Now that's what we're called to, which we mostly forget as we get caught up in the busyness of the embodiment and all of the noise of the marketplace. And our attachment to this thing called bodies and planet Earth. It's a very addictive planet, if you haven't noticed already. I'm sure sooner or later you will. It's a very seductive planet. It's a very mesmerizing planet. And beyond that, of course, there's so much more for you and for me to experience. Having said all of that, it's a beauteous planet. Again, for those of us who have eyes to see and hearts open to realize. And so the challenge always is, am I being my best self now? Oh, forget about what we were until this minute. It doesn't matter. It's done with. It's over. There's nothing we can do about it now. But this very moment now, and from here on in, do I really want to be the best of myself? Is that how I want to show up? Do I want to show up in my strength, in my truth, in my grace, in the inner wisdom that is mine to share? Or will it be the same old status quo and the same merry-go-round, thinking only in terms of my humanity and identifying only in terms with my humanity and of my humanity? Because that's not going to change the world. And the world needs changing now, but nothing's going to change if my personal world doesn't first change. It's always beginning with self. Have you noticed that? Every good work begins with the self. Preparation within the self to get the self ready to be able to bring the gift that the self is here to bring and place it on the table of life that is going to nurture and nourish it and advance it and support it. That's the challenge, and that's why you and I are here, to be reminded of it week after week after week after week, for as long as it takes, until we awaken into that sense and sensibility of ourselves and the moreness of what indeed we all are, and we cease to identify with our lack and our limitations and all that we are not and all that we haven't got, which is the greatest load of baloney that you and I could spend our energy on, because it's not the truth. The truth is, I came in here as a fully orbed being ready to go, ready to rock and roll and get on with it, ready to roll up my sleeves and do what I came here to do, make a contribution, make the difference, and leave behind me a legacy that creates a world that's a little bit better than I found it when I came in. That's why we're here. It's as big as that, and you're equal to it, and so am I. Now, you and I will not do this on our own. We'll not come to that awakeful state on our own. We need the village. We need the village. We belong to each other. We are integrated with each other. We are part of each other, and we must indeed include the other as all. This morning I was saying we've got to leave behind the me now. Done with the me. We've had enough of the me. We have to transform that into we. We are the we in life. And together, you and I can be amazingly, awesomely effective when we're one mind, one heart, one body, one soul, with one purpose. One purpose. And our manifesto for our community is to create a world, to support a world that works for everyone. And that means everyone, no exception. Everyone and everything. Every living person and every living thing is included in that manifesto. We're beyond tribalism now, unless you haven't noticed we are, because tribalism doesn't work. And it's still alive and kicking. But it doesn't work. It didn't work in the past. It changed. And it's not working now either. One race, the human race. One community, the global community. And we're all in it. We all belong to it. We are all part and parcel of it, and we're in charge of it all. All of it. We can't just say, well, I like this bit over here, but that bit, they're on their own. All of it, the good, the bad, the indifferent, all of it is your playground and mine. It's the play of the gods. Now, you are big enough for this, believe it or not. You are big enough to take this on. And when is that going to really become something that's awake in you, alive in you, that moves you, that pushes you beyond the small self of yourself that you have settled down into, and I have too, and become comfortable with the familiar. The devil I know is better than the devil I don't know, is what we tell ourselves sometimes. You know, and God forbid change should be asked of me, because really, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I don't go easy into that night. Change. What do you mean, change? I'm comfortable in my rut. I'm comfortable in my lack and limitation. I'm comfortable. Well, no, you're not. And neither am I. And that's why we get grousy and crabby and cranky and bump into each other and bash each other and all the rest of it. Because we're not comfortable in our rut. Because there's something in us alive, very potent, very powerful, very strong, that says, you're more than this. What the hey is wrong with you? Wake up. Could you be so stupid to settle for less when there's a whole lot more awaiting you? And besides, you've got work to do. That's what you came here to do. Now, when are you going to roll up your sleeves and get into it and start doing it? Like you're excited by it. It's a big project, and you can't wait to put your hand to the plow and do it. The time of waiting is over now. We're living in acute times. And for the first time ever in the history of mankind, we have the capacity to completely annihilate ourselves just like that, very quickly. And also, we have the capacity to be able to take care of all of the needs in the world and to take care of our world community and do it very well. For the first time ever, we can do this. It's given to us to be able to do this. Now, what's preventing us from that? Selfishness, blind, ignorant selfishness, and a sense of superiority by some of us that think we're better than others. And that it's okay for some of us to have it all on the backs of those who have very little. Well, it's not. We have been called to spiritual activism. Always we have been. All of the greatest of leaders have been spiritually activists. Have you noticed? All of them, whether it's Buddha or Jesus or Mother Teresa, all are spiritual activists. They make a difference. They put their shoulder to the plow and they plow the lands and they scatter the seeds and they grow the crops and they bring it to harvest and they feed the people. That's what they do. And you're no less than all of that. And you have not any less of a calling. You don't get away with less than that. So that means you and I are called to bring our fullness, to bring our plenty, to bring all that we have, and God knows we have much, to share, to share, to share. Now, some people call this socialism. And for some of us, socialism has somehow or another become a dirty word. Socialism, you know, the greatest of all socialists was Jesus. Do you know that? Have you any idea? And also, the great service in all of our communities, whether it be a Gandhi, a Nelson Mandela, a Mother Teresa, whatever. What does that mean? To me, socialism means be social with everything and everyone. Have a social interaction with everything and everyone. That means a human contact with everything and everyone. Include everything and everyone. What's wrong with that? Why are we afraid of words? My gosh, we're so afraid of words we can't even speak to our nearest and dearest about things that we disagree about. Well, what's with that? What sense does that make? How can I live under the same roof with somebody? I can't talk about things that matter to me, share where I am with that, and be okay with it, and agree to disagree. What is the matter with that? As John Mitchell was saying the other day on this program when he himself and Tim McGrath put out this, the history of great patriotic music in America, and how every movement for good was led by music and great songs. And he said, okay, we'll disagree with each other 9 times out of 10, but what about that 10th point there that we could come to some sense and sensibility around and some agreement around? There's the point of opening an opportunity for engagement. The word is engagement. In this day and age, you need to be engaged, I need to be engaged, we all need to be engaged, connected, engaged, part of the dialogue, even though we don't like the dialogue. How are we going to gain understanding if we're not part of the dialogue? And most of us will be part of the dialogue by simply listening. It doesn't mean you have to wave your banner and put your hand up and say, I have something to say, I have something to say, I have something to say. No, you have something to listen to. And so have I. The greatest communicators of all are the ones who know how to listen best. Because it's only in listening that you gain understanding. You gain understanding in listening, not in mouthing off your opinions. Me either. In listening, in feeling the intent, in getting a sense of why people are desperate, why people are afraid, why people are scared of me and won't let me in. I want to know what that's about. For that, I have to be engaged in the dialogue and I have to be listening in my engagement. And I have to come to it with some open sense and sensibility that perhaps, just perhaps, there could be a meeting of minds here. Because there has to be a meeting of minds before there's a touching of hearts. Have you noticed that? But we have to begin somewhere. And as much as it's distasteful to us, because guess what? I don't like conflict situations. I don't like to get involved in conflict. It just upsets me and disturbs me. It's just, I don't want to go there. To live is to be in conflict. To be a human being is to be in conflict. You're not getting away from facing into conflict, and neither am I. Oh, darn it. But that's the way it is until it's not that way anymore. And how is it not going to be that way anymore? By you and me growing up and taking on the challenge to do what we seem and deem to be difficult, trying to understand another's point of view and their very different perspective. And to have the kindness and the compassion and the respect and the understanding to be able to find myself in a situation where I'm unfamiliar with people who don't necessarily like me or anything about me, but I'm willing to see why that is so and face into that. It is only when we are moved into connection that something deeply within us is organically healed, because we have managed to open ourselves up to maybe knowing something that we didn't know before. We've opened ourselves up to the possibility that I could find in this situation, in this person, in this group, the divinity that is within us all. And there's where I have to make myself vulnerable. And it's okay to be human, is to be vulnerable. And it can be a beautiful virtue when it's understood with that kindness and compassion and patience within ourselves and with all. So yes, we are called to absolutely support human justice for all. Justice for all, and justice for all living things and all life. Justice for all. All is love and all is law. And the law is the way love gets demonstrated, communicated, and supported. So this is a week for you and for me to get our wisdom on and to grow a bit and to open up a little bit more and to be ready for whatever the day brings, knowing that I'm more than myself when I show up in service, especially. When I show up deliberately in service, I am more than myself, because it's not the humanity of me that's serving, it's the power and the presence of the givingness of life within me that's showing up to serve. And I can trust that. I can trust my source. I can trust the moreness of myself, the greatness of myself, the divine aspect of myself. I can trust that. Not so much the humanity all the time, but I can certainly trust the true essence of my being. I can trust the word that was made flesh in and through and by means of me. I can do that. And so can you, if you want to. But I'm saying to you right here and right now, we are at that threshold on this planet, that it could go this way or it could go this way. How it goes is up to you and up to me. The quantum number that is required for this kind of consciousness to occur could be much smaller than we imagine. And as Ernest Holmes always said, founder of Science of Mind and Spirit, we are against nothing, but we stand for something. So it's time now to start standing for something and stop being against. There's nothing to be against if it's all God, as we sing and say and read on plaques. What does that mean in the way you live your life, in the way I live my life? The great, 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 great lover on this plane, Jesus, the master teacher, says the manifesto is, take care of the poor and set the downtrodden free. It's the manifesto of Christianity. Take care of the poor and set the downtrodden free. And we're talking about the poor of all kinds. Poor in spirit. as well as poor in necessities, just to sustain and maintain life. As Gandhi says, he says, oh my goodness me, he said, no problem with Jesus, love Jesus, no problem with any of that. The only problem I have is with the Christians because they haven't tried out Christianity yet. Can you imagine a world that we'd be living in now if Christianity had truly been lived according to the pure, undiluted teaching of the Master Jesus? Not organized religion, but the pure, undiluted, simple teaching of the Master Jesus. Go and take care of the world's needs was always the call. And Jesus himself said, look here, kids, this is the way it is now. You can start all your gangs and your groups and your clubs and everything else exclusive and keep people out. Where I'm telling you this, in heaven there will be no Jew, there will be no Gentile, there will be no differentiation between anything and anyone. And the kingdom of heaven is the higher kingdom of consciousness. And in that higher kingdom of consciousness, there is no differentiation between the substance of what God, good, love, life, and light is. It's all one thing. And you and I are getting this more and more and more. So let's embrace each other, warts and all. Let us receive and welcome everyone, cranky babies and everyone. Let us receive everybody as though we know that there is that seed of pure being within them, and that's their truth. That's how we need to embrace each other. Not just the people we love and the people we adore, but everyone and everything as a Buddha would, as a Jesus would, as an enlightened being would. Let me tell you, there's never been an enlightened being that ever walked this plane that ever entered into debate after debate after debate. They didn't debate. They served. They showed up. They were just love and service, and that's all they were. There was no need to be debating anything because they didn't see anything to debate. They could only see it's all God. It's all life. It's all infinite possibility unfolding where each individualized expression of life is, unfolding the best they can unfold. So they had compassion, they had patience, they had understanding, they had wisdom as they received the pauper and the prince alike, because they didn't see any difference between the two. And that's what you're called to now, and that's what I'm called to now. So this month has really been focusing in for us all internationally as a whole group, a whole body, a whole community in Centers of Spiritual Living on spiritual activism. Prayer is not going to do it alone. Prayer does much for us as individuals. But remember, you treat and move your feet, you pray and move your feet. It's nothing if there's no action underneath it, if there's no outcome as a result of it, if there's no stepping up and putting on the plate as a result, is there? I don't think so. So in concluding, I'm just going to remind you, regardless how you came in here, no matter what it was you were thinking about yourself, and all that you haven't got, and all that you are not, and all the rest of those complaints that we have about our lives and living and ourselves, and everybody else too, put that aside. That's the illusionary state of this world of Maya, illusion. It's a dream, it's a dream. This world is a dream, this life is a dream. We're all in the dream, and some of us are having a good dream and most of us are not. But we want to wake up out of the dream and we want to know something bigger and better than the dream. We want to be able to move up into the true essence and reality of being. The light, the life, the love, the energy, the power that's available to you and to me. The question is, what is yours to do now? Do you know? And if you know what is yours to do now, are you going to do it? Are you willing to do it? Or will you put it on the back burner until mañana, until you run out of mañanas and it never gets done? That's the question. That's the question. What is yours to do? What is mine to do? And are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? Yes. And so it is.